How did a clear lack of education on the laws and training in firearms cost one good guy his life, and the bad guy gets away from everything? Let's take a look in this video. Make no mistake, this could be anyone. A good guy with a gun trying to stop a robbery at the store where he's working at winds up not only dying, but also the bad guy escapes any criminal charges whatsoever. What's going on here? How did this happen? Let's take a look. This took place in Antioch, California, which for me is about 2,100 and change miles west of us. For something a little bit more helpful in a non-Wisconsin centric world, that's about 45 minutes to the east of San Francisco. Two bad guys, one of whom was apparently armed with some sort of firearm, come into a gas station. They're of course looking for all the normal things that robbers are looking for in gas stations, which is to say cash and Funyuns. Well, they demand cash from the cashier. The clerk behind the counter, good guy with the gun, pulls out his firearm. And of course, what happens is statistically what we can expect to see happen most of the time. Namely, about 90% of the time when a bad guy is confronted by a good guy with a firearm, the bad guy runs away. And that's exactly what happened here. The two bad guys try to flee to escape the clerk. The clerk, unfortunately, did not have enough education and training to understand what he should do next. And rather than stopping, letting them go, and calling 911 to be a good witness, he actually chases them and follows them out into the parking lot, shooting at them along the way. The bad guy with the gun actually falls down and from the ground actually returns fire at the good guy, mortally wounding him in the process. Now, to many of you watching, this may sound like a pretty clean-cut case of homicide, right? Two guys go into a gas station, they're trying to rob the place, they're armed with a firearm, and in the process of that offense, they wind up murdering the gas station clerk. Seems reasonably clean-cut, right? Not if you've been listening to how the law works on this channel. Then you know that while they initially entered the gas station and the clerk confronts them, they have absolutely no possibility of claiming self-defense in that initial encounter. Why? Because of the rules and laws concerning provocation. They provoked that lethal, deadly force encounter, and as a result, they have no privilege to self-defense. However, when they retreat, they now create a right to self-defense if that second guy, in other words, the clerk in our case, winds up initiating a second deadly force encounter, which is exactly what happens here. So even though this is all part of the same stream of conduct, you can actually see multiple different legal scenarios, or legal chapters, maybe, is a better way of understanding it, where in chapter 1, you have no right to self-defense, but you regain it in chapter 2 because maybe you retreated or something like that. And again, that's exactly what happened here. They retreated, the good guy wound up following them. Now suddenly, under the law in virtually every state that I'm familiar with, the good guy now becomes the bad guy, which is the reason why if someone goes to escape, let them go for two reasons. Number one, of course, it's not worth dying over. The good guys don't always win, as we exactly see that happen here. And people tend to forget that. We've watched too many John Wayne movies and all that other kind of good stuff where the good guy always wins. Folks, that is not real life. Sometimes the good guys lose. And then number two is, of course, the fact that, look, even though you are the good guy, doesn't mean that you're acting legally. If someone tries to get away, let them get away. It's not stuff defense, it's people defense. That's what deadly force is. But instead of facing homicide charges, the bad guy's actually been cleared of any criminal prosecution related at least to the murder of the clerk. The district attorney's office in the local area came out and said, look, this may not be the world's most clean-cut case of self-defense, but it is a case of self-defense because we have the two separate incidents. The first incident inside the gas station and the deadly force encounter, if the clerk shot him at that time, that's a probably clean-cut case of self-defense for the clerk. And if the bad guy shot and killed the clerk, that's going to be a homicide. But by virtue of retreating, we're now into chapter 2, where the situation has reversed legally. Therefore, the district attorney's office have come out and said that we are not pressing charges. It goes without saying that my heart goes out to the family of the decedent in this case. By all accounts, I'm sure he was a good guy just trying to work a job and put food on his family's table. But again, it goes to show the fact that, well, two things. Number one, if you're going to be in harm's way, you had better know the laws. And number two is, if you're going to be carrying a firearm, you definitely need to know the laws. Again, I cannot stress this enough. Being a good guy with a gun is not good enough to survive the encounter and to survive the legal aftermath. Because keep in mind, had the good guy survived the kinetic encounter, in other words, the encounter with the deadly force, which he didn't, he would have been facing a legal encounter for what it sounds like the prosecutors would have claimed to be the initiation of deadly force on his behalf. In other words, attempted homicide, recklessly endangering safety, whatever else it might be. And again, folks, I understand no one wants to live in a world where the good guys are the ones who catch all the consequences. And I'm certainly not advocating for that in every single scenario. What I am advocating for is for you down the lens to understand that this is the reality that we all live in. And it's important that you understand that now rather than after the shot. Guys, the YouTube algorithm has been suppressing Second Amendment related videos, so it would be fantastic if you could just please take a moment to click that like button, as well as to subscribe to this channel if you'd like to see more videos. We'll see you in the next one.